Yeah, good evening. Okay, so this is the last part. That's the fourth part that of the 10th chapter 10, CBSE 12th standard bio. Right? So in this part, we'll be discussing about biocontrol agents and biofertilizers. Okay. Yeah. Fine. So last class links were already present, already there in the playlist. 12th standard CBSE micro in human welfare, right? Chapter 10, outline and detailed discussion. This is a playlist. You will find all outlines, brief discussion, at the same time detailed discussion. So please access those videos and get benefited. So let's quickly move through this, go through this. The remaining aspects of the lesson. So yesterday we were discussed about the out of 6 parts, we discussed 4 parts in within these 3 parts, and the fourth part we are going to cover the remaining 2 parts, two aspects. There's microbes in human welfare when it comes to how can we use these microbes as biocontrol agents. Good evening. So please let me know if you are able to listen to me, or if the video is buffering or not, or if it is okay. Please let me know so that I will check with my net. So let's move on. So when we talk about this microbes, biocontrol agents. So how can, or first of all, what are these biocontrol agents? Then we will try to understand like what are the different microbes that we can really utilize as in biocontrol agents. So the biocontrol agents are nothing but usage of these biological methods, right? Use of the biological methods to control plant diseases and pests. So if you see the pests, usually what we do is we employ artificial pesticides, right, insecticides, etc. But what we are doing in this biocontrol methods, we are employing biological methods to control the plant diseases and the pests. So, is it audible and is it video is clear? Is everything okay? Shall I continue, or you need any adjustments? Is everything is clear? Okay. I hope you guys are able to follow. It means, is it clear? Video? Are you able to listen? Yeah. Okay. Fine. Okay. Right. So let's move on then. So this is a this is how we can define the biocontrol term. So it is nothing but to employ biological methods actually to control this plant diseases and pests. So usually what we do is we use chemical pesticides and insecticides, which can kill both useful and harmful organisms, and which can cause even pollution. So here it's a very important aspect when it comes to the farming, right? So right now the farming is shifting to organic farming. You would have observed in social media or different movies that they are actually focusing on or government schemes. They are actually focusing on the organic farming actually. So they wanted to cut down or cut short the utilization or the employing of this artificial insecticide, pesticides, or fertilizers. That the next topic what we're going to discuss, because this chemical pesticides or insecticides not only kill this the unwanted organisms, but useful organisms also will be killed, and eventually it can even pollute the environment. So that's how we wanted to look into the biological methods. We can really use those and we can employ them, and then we can actually control this pests or insects, right? So what are the biological methods that we use? So in this biological method we employ microbial, we use microbes as one of the biological control for the pests and the other associated diseases, right? So when we talk about this pesticides and insecticides, right, weedicides, so they actually cause enormous pollution to the environment, on especially the soil, which would eventually will not be fit for any sort of cultivation. So that's how we wanted to shift to something which is more suitable for the farming for the next activities. So in this biological control of pests and diseases, we actually, especially in agriculture, right, we rely on the natural predation method, right? It means natural prey and predators would be there. So actually, chemicals would actually go and kill the insects or pests. But what we are doing is, without chemical intervention, what we're doing is we will culture, or we will actually allow few organisms which are actually predates on the prey, which is not useful for the crop. So they eventually eliminate those preys. So this natural predator prey relationships that we actually use. So instead of using chemicals, that is one of the important aspects, right? So likewise, we can use a variety of organisms, microorganisms like viruses. We can use fungal species. We can use, even we can use bacterial species to eliminate or to kill this pests or insects, right? So that is one of the important aspects. So finally, this is, for example, if you see the integrated pest management system that we that we follow, right now we are suggesting farmers to use this integrated pest management, or integrated, in which the organic farming is one of the important aspects to manage this pests and diseases. So we employ natural sort of elimination of the unwanted pests and insects. So that's how we come across these biological methods, especially usage of microorganisms. So once we use this natural predator and prey systems, which will be very much what do you say? They can be uh, what is it? They can be very much targeted. It means those predators would actually prey on certain insects only. So that can easily eliminate the cause of the disease or pests. Unlike our conventional methods of using insecticides and chemical pesticides, which were introduced, for actually boosting up the yield, they were introduced at the conventional farming techniques. But later on, now we are adapting integrated pest management system, within which we are adapting organic farming. So in organic farming is something which is a holistic approach. So this holistic approach would contain, which actually we have to understand even the food chain, because if eliminating any one of these organism would really hamper the entire yield. So that's what we have to learn about this organic farming, and what are the species that we can grow, how far we can grow, how much number it should be there. All these things we can study in integrated pest management studies. So which actually beneficial for the farmers by using or by employing natural methods to eliminate the weeds or insects or pesticides without polluting the soil. So if you take the examples, we have got Bacillus thuringiensis, right? In which it can this Bacillus thuringiensis we can use these spores, actually these spores can be employed on the plant, so that the spores, once this caterpillars tries to eat up the plant parts, it will, the spores would enter into the gut of this caterpillars, and eventually they germinate, in the sense they actually divide, and finally they release toxins which eventually kill this caterpillars. So obviously we are eliminating which is unwanted, right? So in this way we can use Bacillus thuringiensis spores to kill to kill this caterpillars, right, which eventually killed by the release of toxin which are released by the spores of the Bacillus thuringiensis. And those Bacillus thuringiensis, this toxins are released by this toxin genes, bt toxic genes, right? That in the later part, this is quite a conventional way. In an advanced form, these bt genes are directly introduced into cotton. So along with the cotton genes, these bt genes also would express, and this toxin would release and specifically hamper or specifically attack or specifically kill these caterpillars. So how do we use this bt cotton genes and plasmid and formation of suitable vector and construction of this plasmid and introducing into the infecting into the plant? All these things we already talked in biotechnology. Okay, so but detailed discussion of biotechnology and its application and principles would be released shortly. So this is one of the examples. There is bacteria, there is Bacillus thuringiensis, can be directly used as spores, or we can even introduce genes of the Bacillus bt toxic genes. So this is bacterial. So in this, biocontrol agents, we can make it as a flowchart: bacterial, fungal, and viral. So for bacterial is finished. Now come to the trichoderma. Trichoderma in human health and disease, we heard about trichoderma. It's a kind of a one of the genus which causes this fungal diseases. But the same fungus, when it is there at the roots at the plants, that it's actually control lot of pathogens sort of attacking these plants. So this trichoderma can be actually, this fungus can be grown at the root system, so that it can stop the attack or severe attack of several pathogens. So this is one of the fungal species which is actually a free living system, right? So that's what you need to understand, which is free living, whether they are associated with the other or within the cell or outside the cell, whether it's free living or not, we need to understand. Okay, so the trichoderma species are actually free living fungi, right? And that you can commonly see at the root ecosystems, right? At the root, you will find this sort of trichoderma species, and eventually stop attack of pathogens would try to enter through the root system. So this is one of the biological method. By using a microbe, you can actually stop the further infections or the diseases. And then comes the next biocontrol measure, that is that is viruses. So bacteria is done, and fungi is done, and then now we are talking about viruses, right? So viruses, you have got examples that what we talk in this viruses or baculoviruses. So these baculoviruses are actually pathogens which attack insects and other arthropods. So these arthropods are of different varieties, and these viruses would infect these insects and arthropods. So obviously this is one of the beneficial aspect. Yes, because we are not using any chemicals or any other sort of insecticides here. So directly we are using a natural system which can actually infect these insects or arthropods. So that's what this baculoviruses in a majority we used to use as biocontrol agents. right? So this baculoviruses actually belongs to the genus nucleopolyhydroviruses, right? So these viruses definitely serves as an you know attacking is species specific. So they are narrow spectrum in the sense like they specifically affect certain type of insects, right? So we can, these are all perfect candidates for actually to use as an biocontrol agents. Why? Because they are able to attack species specifically, right? So they're not randomly or they're not broadly infecting any other organism. They're specifically infecting a certain insects. So if that crop has got these many insects which are definitely spoiling the yield of the crop, we can use this baculoviruses and then we can eventually eliminate those insects. So that's what they are excellent candidates. So these are the one of the aspects of the baculoviruses, and they have narrow spectrum insecticidal applications. So you may get one doubt, sir, these are all viruses now, and then we are employing on the crops. So if we eat this, so any common man gets this sort of doubt. So if you use viruses, right, and if we consume these plants, right, so what happens? So these are all specific for those species, not for they don't really infect the mammals and other animals or other plants. So that's what they are species specific. So there are n number of viruses which attack plants, but that doesn't affect the human, right? So likewise, this is one of the viruses which doesn't really affect the mammals, or in the case of plants and birds, fish, or even other insects as well. If at all there is insects A, B, C are there, if our target is only A, they will not even affect the B and C. So if B and C are actually useful for the crop, so obviously they will for pollination, for example, those sort of things, so that they will not get affected. But these viruses are so specific that if A is what we wanted to eliminate, the target species, we can eliminate. So non-targeted species, mammals, and even other birds and other animals which are not non-targeted, they will not be affected. So that's how that's all about this biocontrol agents. So which are covered in NCERT, right? So let's move to the last part of this lesson. That how can we use microbes as an fertilizers? So if you see this again, the conventional farming techniques, right? If we talk about the conventional farming techniques, so for example, artificial fertilizers, right? So if you see is Haber, right? So this Haber is one of the German chemists who actually started with this fertilizers, right? So he has got one of the vision, right? The scientist who actually started this preparation of these fertilizers had a vision that we have to increase the crop yield so that we can meet the demanding food demand, because the population is keep growing. But what happened was when they really introduced this fertilizers, artificial or chemical fertilizers, they eventually damaged the environment more. At the same time, the fertilizers that we have to employ on these plants, chemical fertilizers, are all of too costly affair. At the same time, the ratios needs to be perfectly fit. So it is a highly burdensome to the farmers, a small farmer. So that's why even government is urging the farmers to go with the organic farming, where we don't use any sort of chemical fertilizers, insecticide, pesticide, weedicides, or fertilizers also will not be used. So we'll be employing biofertilizers. So that's what the concept of organic farming, and that's how in the modern, in this era, right? We are trying to, trying to figure out ways that to not degrade, environment. So are you guys able to follow? We are almost done actually. Is it buffering or what? Are you able to follow? Is it okay? So that's how the conventional, this invention of when the conventional farming is taken, the invention or introduction of this, fertilizers, chemical fertilizers, it really, hampered the environment and polluted. At the same time, this chemical fertilizers has got huge impact as well. So that's what we wanted to shift to a gradual shift is needed towards the bio fertilizer. So that's what we are shifting to the bio fertilizers or organic farming, which we employ use of bio fertilizers. So what are bio fertilizers are actually? So we know this, artificial chemical fertilizers like NPK and etc., right, which provides this nitrogen, phosphorus, and other sources. So how can we use these biofertilizers in place of chemical fertilizers? Whether they are effective, how effective they are, how can we use? For that matter, we need to understand what are actually biofertilizers. Biofertilizers are organisms that enrich the nutrient quantity within the soil. So within the soil, you will be finding these biofertilizers will be employed, and then this the improvement of the nutrients or the enriching the nutrient quality would be seen by employing this biofertilizers. So what are the sources? For that matter, what are the organisms or microbes we can use as biofertilizers? So just like before biocontrol agents, we have bacteria, fungi, and viruses. Now we have a different set of biocontrol agents that we can, biofertilizers that we can use. So for example, we have bacterial, we have fungal. So if you see this bacteria, so you see this, bacterial examples, those are rhizobium. So rhizobium is something a symbiotic association, right? So we will be talking about free living and symbiosis association. When we talk about this rhizobium, which actually exists in a symbiotic association with the root nodules of leguminous plants, so which fixes this atmospheric nitrogen. So nitrogen is abundant in the atmosphere and which is not in usable form, which is by the plant. So this molecular nitrogen, this N2 needs to be actually converted into more usable or simple forms or more usable forms like nitrites and nitrates, and that will be taken care by this rhizobium bacteria. And there are free living bacteria in the soil. They are azoospermum and azotobacter. So when it comes to different competitive exams, you need to focus on the nitrogen fixing bacteria who are symbiotic, who are free living. Those examples are extremely important, like azoospermum, azotobacter, or free living. And thus, one presence of this bacteria within the soil, they enrich the nitrogen content of the soil. So once the nitrogen is fixed, atmospheric nitrogen fixed in the form of nitrates and nitrates, they will be absorbed eventually. So this is about the bacteria, and then we'll talk about the fungi. Fungi, we talk about the mycorrhizal association. If you see this mycorrhizal association along with the root, right? Imagine there is a root and there are mycorrhizal association, fungal association. You would have been remembering the transport in plants lesson, right? 11th standard plant physiology transport. You would have seen that the entry of the point of entry of the water is from the root hairs to the epidermis, cortex, endodermis, and then finally vascular bundles, right? So this would be enhanced by this mycorrhizal association, where they will be closely associated with the roots of the plants. So they will be taken up more water and will be provided to the roots of this higher plants. And especially gloma species would be actually used for the uh, used as a mycorrhizal association, which actually here it actually serves different purposes. One is that it actually brings up some resistance to the root-borne pathogens. At the same time, it increases the tolerance, the salinity. Salinity means a high content of the pH, right? So this salinity at the same time drought, right? The low water content. All these aspects would be actually taken care by this mycorrhizal association. So this is how the this mycorrhizal, that is fungal association, within this higher plant roots would eventually overall it will encourage its development. It means it actually increases the plant growth by protecting, by increasing the tolerance for the salinity and drought, and protecting from different pathogenic root-borne pathogens. Right, so that's how this mycorrhizal association would really beneficial to the higher plants as an biofertilizers. At the same time, they even increase the absorption of phosphorus. Phosphorus would be available. Phosphorus cycle, carbon cycle, nitrogen cycle. You would have studied this phosphorus which is present in the soil, right? Which the absorption of this phosphorus would be increased by this association. So this is how it will give an overall increasing in the plant growth and development. And the last one but not least is the cyanobacteria, or otherwise called as blue-green algae, which is a autotrophic microbe, which they can even fix the atmospheric nitrogen. So you need to know which are autotrophics, which are not autotrophic, and their examples you need to know. So these autotrophic microorganisms, which they can actually fix this, atmospheric nitrogen, like for example, Anabina, non-stalk funkiformia, or oscillatoria, right? These are all can be grown. For example, they can be even grown in paddy fields, so that they can actually overall fixation of nitrogen can be seen in the soil. And even if you see that this even adds up to the organic matter in the soil, and it even increases the soil fertility. So in one end it is fixing the nitrogen, and other end even it is providing organic matter, increasing the organic matter, and even it is increasing its soil fertility. So these are the different uses of the biofertilizers, cyanobacterial membrane, right? So that the farmers are actually can actually use these biofertilizers, which are available commercially, right? They are available market, right? They can use these biofertilizers. They can regularly apply to their fields, so that they can replenish the soil nutrients. So replenishing is what we need to look into this soil nutrients, and then we can actually reduce the dependence on this chemical fertilizers. So that is a prime target. So we need to reduce the dependence upon the chemical fertilizers, insecticides, pesticides, all these things by employing this microorganism. So that is how these microbes are very much useful when it comes to these aspects. So with this we completed this lesson, microbes in human welfare. So this detailed discussion of will be having 4 parts. This is 4th part. First part we have discussed 10.1, and second part 10.1 and 10.1, and then second part we have discussed 10.2 and 10.4, right? And third part we have discussed 10.3, and now we discuss 10.4 in the 4th part. 10.5 and 10.6 were discussed. So with this we completed all six parts of this lesson. right? 6 subtopics within this lesson in 4 parts. So this is 4th video, right? So please visit the other 3 videos to get a full length understanding of this lesson. And please do subscribe, consider to subscribe, and please do share this video as many as possible, and please do like before you leave. And I hope you can utilize this videos, and from next week we will start one more lesson, and most probably this 7 to 8 session would be restricted to half an hour session. Probably after 7:15 I will be coming live. So I will be notifying you at 7:15 I can start, and I will be using only 30 minutes or 40 minutes of the time for the class, so that I can go by topic in depth. So that is it for today, guys, and enjoyed this videos, and it's useful for you guys, both NEET students, at the same time academic students, 12th standard students, whatever the board is. Concepts remain same, but the content real little variation. So please do visit other videos as well. Thank you for the thank you for coming for the live chat and interaction. That is it for today, guys, and stay at home, stay safe, have a nice weekend. Thank you. So we'll be starting next week with a lesson. Thank you.